Welcome to the Rimworld mod rundown. We'll be taking a quick look at what you can expect to see from vanilla weapons expanded grenades. For starters, you won't technically need any additional workshop content. However, grenades has integrations with the core vanilla weapons expanded mod, as well as non-lethal and vanilla factions expanded settlers, which means you're most likely going to need vanilla expanded framework and harmony anyway. A really small addition to the vanilla weapons expanded family today. This rundown is more so a recommendation for a few other mods to pair alongside this to give you some flexibility and better visibility when equipping your pawns. First up, let's go over what grenades adds. If you use the mod by itself, you'll get 3 new utility items. With weapons expanded, you get 3 more. Settlers adds in 1 more, as does non-lethal, bringing you up to a total of 8 new utilities. But wait, utility items? Isn't this mod called weapons expanded? Yep. Grenades gives you 2 options when using explosives now. You can either wield them as a thrown weapon, allowing for unlimited use and a saturation fire effect, or you can turn them into a grenade belt at the machining table, which allows them to be worn as a utility item at the cost of limiting their uses and requiring refueling once fully spent. You don't need to worry about pawns wearing these belts refilling their grenades after only a couple of uses, wasting a full restock as it were. They'll only automatically refill their belts once they're completely empty. If you do want them to top it back up before that point, you can manually command them to do so by right clicking on the grenades and selecting reload belt. Stat wise, the grenades on your belt will perform identically to a handheld version, with the upside being it offers far more flexibility. Now you don't need to pick between having the range and consistency of something like an assault rifle against the situational power of a well placed frag. You have both, with the balance offset being that you'll need to be making, or looting, normal grenades on a regular basis to keep your belts topped up, so these items will have a recurring cost. The mod has been updated a few times since the workshop page was made, so some of the values are a little different to what's listed. To quickly break down what you're getting from each pack, grenades by itself will add frags, EMPs and molotovs. Frag grenades come with 8 charges per reload, with that costing 80 chem fuel and 20 steel. One small change of the belts against the standard grenades is the decrease in flammability and belts simply being destroyed by fire without creating an explosion. I'm not entirely sure if this is intended behaviour or an oversight. I seem to remember them exploding about a year or so ago, but I might be getting that mixed up with the belt from Apparel Expanded. Either way, it means that they're safer to store.
You know what else is interesting? Grenades.
EMP grenades have a massive 10 charges, but need 20 steel and 6 components per refuel, so you don't want to be throwing them around aimlessly. Insanely useful for any mechanoid threats, low shield drops, and a quick and dirty hit on any world map targets without the risk of turret fire. You'll be thanking raiders that turn up with these as they give you a lovely chunk of free refuels whilst posing 0 threat to your own colonists. The molly has 8 charges, like the frag grenade. It costs 80 chem fuel and 25 cloth, so it's a very affordable piece of equipment with only a bit of ranching and farming required. In turn, this offers you some very easy crowd control options to cut off an entrance if a raid is going south, or a pretty easy source of ignition to deal with some buggos. If you're playing with biotech, these can come in really handy as a quick method of crippling a sanguiphage, or any other modded race that you've added that's especially vulnerable to fire. With the core vanilla weapons expanded mod also enabled, you'll get smokes, flashes and toxic grenade belts. Smoke and flash grenades need to be produced at the fabrication bench, then turned into a belt at the machining table, whereas the tox grenades need to be made at the machining table and then turned into a belt at the fabrication bench. This has 100% got to be an oversight somewhere, but it isn't the end of the world, just as long as you know where to look. Smoke grenades have a whopping 12 charges, for the small cost of only 40 chem fuel and 10 steel. The obvious comparison here is going to be to a smoke pop pack, which, yes, is considerably more expensive side by side, getting only 3 charges and costing 1 component, 20 steel and 40 chem fuel to make, then needing 10 chem fuel whenever it needs refueling, eating the entire 10 regardless of whether it's restoring 1 charge or all 3. So the grenades offer ranged rather than melee, they're cheaper to make without a component cost, and they store more charges. whereas the smoke pop pack hits a much larger AoE when used and will cost 40 chem fuel to refuel 12 charges, saving you the 10 steel you would have needed to refuel the smoke grenades. All of this to say, you likely won't use these anyway unless you're trying to slip by a turret. Flash grenade belts have 12 charges too, needing 20 steel and 6 components to make, just like EMP grenades. For good reason though, the flash grenades are really easy to abuse, stun locking entire raids with them. The other side of that is if you're going for a tactic like that, basically neutering the enemy, you'll have 1 or 2 dedicated nade spammers, rather than needing to keep manually aiming them each time and refueling, or risk running dry mid-fight. Definitely an item you need to use in moderation, or it can make combat a total joke.
Asshole!
What?
What?
What? What, Lana?
Tox grenades come in with 6 charges, costing 20 steel and 6 components as well. Compared to the Tox pack, which needs 35 chem fuel, 10 steel and 1 component, again the most obvious difference is going to be the range. You can throw the grenades and stay out of the choking effect, whereas you'll need to bathe yourself in the toxic gas from a pack to make it work, meaning it's only really viable on toxic immune or resistant xenotypes. The flip side of this is the duration and potential spread of the gas, with the Tox pack barfing out a much greater quantity of gas over a longer period of time, at the further cost of only having 1 charge and needing 35 chem fuel to refuel. Tox grenades definitely have their place, stacking multiple debuffs on enemy raiders, but you'll need to be throwing at minimum 2 or 3 per wave of raiders to make sure the gas has a meaningful impact. That's why using a standard non-belt Tox grenade for the saturation, or sticking to the Tox pack, is arguably better, because a single use of a Tox pack by someone in your melee wall will be enough to choke nearly all incoming raiders and apply over 75% toxic buildup on a standard xenotype. Next, from non-lethal, you've got tear gas. Costing 40 neutro and 10 steel to make, this gets 5 charges per refuel. The tear gas is extremely powerful when used in a choke point, even more so if you're pairing it with an effect like a toxic gas. With the blinded effect from tear gas doubling pain and lowering manipulation, toxic gas causing pain and impacting breathing, and toxic buildup impacting consciousness, you'll find that many xenotypes simply collapse inside the cloud and can't even crawl away. Finally, from Vanilla Factions Expanded Settlers, you've got the Dynamite Belt. Dynamite costs 140 chem fuel and 20 cloth to make and gets 6 charges before it needs to be refueled. If you're playing with Settlers enabled, you're never going to struggle to get extra dynamite to refuel it either. If you've never seen dynamite in action and want to know why the hell it's so expensive, compare its blast radius against a normal frag grenade. It's a 7x7 minus the 3 tiles at corners, compared to a frag grenade's 3x3. So the question is, how the hell is that balanced? Simple. Dynamite's fuse time is entirely random. It can explode the millisecond it leaves your pawn's hand, or after sitting on the ground for a few seconds, making it near impossible to plan your shot. If you've ever seen a raid of bandits turn up and then randomly explode, despite you only using rifles, this is why. Dynamite is powerful, but the chance of disaster is far too high to use it. And that is your selection of firepower with this mod. So what to pair alongside it? 3 suggestions. Firstly, better workbench management. Everyone should be using this already, but it isn't really sexy enough to get its own rundown. It makes it really simple to manage refuel materials for the grenade belts, allowing you to copy and paste the settings across whatever grenades you're using, and drag and drop the priorities as needed. So your crafters aren't sitting around trying to refill your component stockpile when what you really need is a refill for your flashbangs. If you're looking at these grenade belts and thinking, well, they're great and all, but I have so many other utility items I'd rather use, might I suggest packs are not belts. Now this is more of a gameplay balance impact than other quality of life mods, as it'll be swapping things like smoke pops, jump packs, low shields, tox packs, and mechanator gear to the torso layer, as those things are actually displayed on the pawn, rather than at the waist level for the other utility items like a shield belt, or in this case a grenade belt. This mod also comes with settings that will allow you to separate the layers for artifacts, bandoliers, tactical gear, and ammunition. If you're modding a lot of new gear into your game but don't really make use of any of it because shield belt is king, this will greatly help. The last thing to recommend is for the players that are still scratching their head over the how and why of certain gear layering. RPG style inventory revamped. It really helps by letting you mouse over the gear and see what layers it occupies and what coverage it offers, hopefully better explaining to new players why they can't wear a face mask with a broad wrap or a veil, but they can still wear one with a hood, or why your pawn will happily wear normal pants under marine armour but will need to remove flak pants. If you don't want the full paper doll open all the time either, it has a really nice simplified version that makes it much quicker at a glance to assess equipment, quality, condition, and the protection that it's offering. And that is that. Some more bang for your buck, offering a more traditional video game approach to grenades by making them A, consumable, and B, not a primary weapon. It's been more than a couple of decades since I played an FPS game that actually required you to equip a grenade to throw it, so time to bring Rimworld into the modern age and make explosives a handy hotkey. Thanks for watching folks. If you have any mods you'd like to see a full breakdown for, or suggestions of mods you'd like to see covered, feel free to leave them in the comments, I might get around to them. I'll be back again soon with another Rimworld mod rundown. Wherever you are in the world, enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon or evening. Take care.